Hello, can everyone hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, we're just gonna quickly go over Husky Hold'em. Um, just this is mostly gonna be for things if you have any questions. So I'm gonna try to go through this as quickly as possible. But if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'll be checking that constantly. And yeah, let's get started. So we are hosting Husky Hold'em again this year. And for those of you unfamiliar with what Husky Hold'em is, it is essentially ATC's premier competition where we have people come over, make their own poker bots, and essentially have them go at each other, see how well and each one does. And it's like a fun thing where we get to network with people who are not necessarily part of the club. We get to recruit as well, and we just get to show the entire industry who we are as the algorithmic trading club. For some rules, you can have teams of as many people as you like. We just ask that each one of you make your own account and then just submit from one account itself. Um, on top of that, any code that you'll be writing, we hope that you use our skeleton code. So let's get started. Sorry. Let's get started a little bit more on the entire basics of this. Essentially, the reason why we do a poker bot competition, even though we're not a poker club, is because a lot of things that you can learn from building a poker bot and just creating um, strategies for a poker bot can be moved into things like quant trading. We're looking for people who can showcase these same types of skills. So you're trying to make optimal decisions with incomplete information because this game is incomplete at the end of the day. So you want to have different ideas, and the whole point of this game is for you to come up with as creative of a strategy as possible. So I won't be going over exact strategies, but I'll be going over considerations of what we should be doing. Um, I won't go more into exactly more of this tournament because we have a wiki. And if you just have any questions, we have an email on the wiki for you to reach out to any of us, and we'll try to get back to you within 24 hours. But other than that, the wiki should be your source of all truth. Anything related to like tournament rules, anything related to when the submissions are going to happen, anything related to how the code is going to work, it's all going to be in wiki. Um, just real quick, we can hop on the wiki. Um, it should have essentially every single thing you would need. I hope you guys can still see the screen. Yeah, every single thing you need for this. And if nothing works out, just feel free to email us on this email, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as we possibly can. All right. Yep. Moving on. Um, yeah, let's talk about a bit about where you guys should start when you're considering building this poker bot. So the first thing that we should have that should be a part of your strategy consideration is the starting hand. So starting hand is the two cards you're dealt with, and then this plus the three cards from the flop, then the turn and the river make up the seven cards where you're picking the best five. But once you get your starting hand, this should be one main part of the bot logic, um, where you start out with the starting hand and you have an algorithm to evaluate your starting hand. For many of those that have heard of GTO and have seen that starting hand chat chart, this could be a good way to start. But again, we want to see creativity, and we've optimized the game in a way that not necessarily GTO, but GTO plus some creativity is usually the type of people who are going to win. So yeah, you want to see how well your starting hand is doing. You want to see whether you have pairs, suited, unsuited. Figure out what exactly your bot's range is, and that depends on the starting hand. Does that make sense? Moving on, the second consideration you guys should think about while implementing your game should be post flop, right? A lot of this has to depend on the board. Basic GTO theory, where you're sitting matters on whether you want to be playing offense or defense. And just like playing poker in real life, you want to implement some form of human logic into your game itself as well. You want to see what the pot odds are, and because it's a computer and you can calculate to the decimal point exactly where these metrics stand, you should be calculating them or coming up with an efficient way to calculate something like this. Moving on to our third and the only other strategy that you should be thinking about is the betting strategy. How do you want to bet? Is it going to be a constant betting regime where you just have a person betting on the good hands, or you have a more adaptive regime that depends on what the other people are doing? Does it depend on certain statistics? If so, what statistics? Do these statistics change over the course of the game? You just want to figure out how you want to bet. And again, for those of you that have played poker, um, you know that none of these have a right answer. You can stick to one specific betting strategy and you could still win. You can stick to an adapting betting strategy and Lady Luck is on your side that day and you could still also very much win. The whole point of this is for you to get as creative as possible. Finally, some considerations that you should consider once you have established these main three things of your bot should be something like hand reading algorithms. Once you've decided how well R range is, by R I mean the bot's ranges, you want to figure out what the opponent's range are. Essentially, what they're doing, kind of what cards do they play. Maybe you want to keep track of the log files that you're getting and figure out, oh, this is where people stand and this is usually how they play, and try to figure this out. Again, we have a time constraint, so nothing too fancy on this hand reading algorithm, but at least some sort of logic there if you feel like it. To figure out what your opponent's doing, you also want to have some risk assessment. Again, think like a quant, right? You want to figure out what are the best things that you should be doing where you're taking risk, but you're also assessing this risk before you take it. Um, yeah, you want to think of it as if you are a quant, as if you're a poker player. You want to figure out what your risk is. You want to figure out how much money you're putting into the game. You want to figure out how much rewards you could be winning in order to go on with this game. Great. I've gone through some of the main things that you should be considering while building your game. Again, we have the wiki for any of the questions that you might have. And now, like I wanted to do with this thing, I want to open it up to any questions and answer as many questions as we have. Does that sound good? So feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
There's the questions
Where?
in the chat. Is this recorded?
Yes, this is being recorded. All right. Looks like yeah. Kana, you want to go on with your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering how many rounds one game will consist of.
Yeah. So, essentially, we will have this depends on how many people we have in the game. For example, let's take the scenario where the first round has six-handed people, and we want to eliminate three of them. Then we will be playing until the first three bust and lose all of their money. But we haven't specifically put them out there because we don't know how many people are playing exactly and how many hands there are going to be. We have some percentages worked out where we're going to say that the first round needs to get rid of this many percentage of people. So we'll play until this many percentage of people are eliminated from that round. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Then I also had one other question, and that was if we could run the simulations locally, if that had been posted yet.
Yes, that haven't been posted yet, but probably we'll be posting this um um this Friday or Saturday when we officially launch. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think for now, just use our server and see what the log file returns. But yes, we are in the process of getting that done. Any
Just
other questions?
in
Is
the
there a limit on the number of times we can submit to the server?
There's no number of time. There's no limitations on
Okay.
how many number of time you can submit to the server. However, you have to wait 30 seconds between each of the submissions. And then for the final submissions in which you will upload, um, which you only can have like 5 like submission being stored
Okay.
on
Okay.
cloud, basically.
Thank you for the information. Makes sense.
Yes.
All right.
So I can show you. So all right. So if we go to just maybe right. So this is your dashboard essentially. And this will run simulations against the default bot that we provide in the client repo, which is just gonna raise in the third round. Otherwise gonna check or otherwise gonna try to match that. But you can upload it here. So for testing your bot, there's no limitations on how many times you can submit, as long as um, your submissions doesn't have any syntax error or any like type error, because otherwise it will be a fail. So whenever you submit it, it will submit like a job to be run, in which it will take from the queue. But if something go wrong, your bot is just gonna be failed. Um, for the final submissions, you must go into submissions. This is the final submissions. So for final submissions, basically you have 5 submissions that you can store the solutions on the cloud, in which we fall back into if something ever happen. But essentially, what you can do is you can upload the submissions, and then what is like your final thing, you can just mark it final, something like that. Yeah, essentially.
I think Suyash has a question.
Yeah, so a couple questions. So, first of all, have the blinds been implemented yet? Or
Supply is currently being implemented.
okay.
So the way the blind will work is um, um, so the way the blind will be working is, so instead of um, um, so you can see in here, so this is like the normal plot, right? So the way the blind will work is you will be called, there will be an either like a new functions, that's what we call on like get blind or something, and basically it will tell you that if you have like a blind or not. That that information essentially will be sent out on like whenever the game starts. So basically through these functions on start, and then it will give you something like, I don't know, a booleans right here, to tell you if you are like a blind or not. Um,
All right. And one more question. So I was checking out the starter code and I was struggling to find how the cards are actually stored. Like I couldn't find any, like if I, well, first of all, I couldn't find anything for what the whole cards are. And also I couldn't find like what represents like the ace of spades or the five of hearts.
yes.
Where would I find that?
So right now there's a really huge bug with the simulations, which is gonna remove the card informations, which will probably be fixed this Friday or Saturday.
Okay.
But essentially, our engine is built upon this library. Uh,
hmm
so this like poker card library. I think it's
hmm
7.
Okay, so we don't have access to this yet, right? This isn't part of the.
Yeah, so you don't have, how do I open it? Uh, right now you don't currently have access to your hand, because it's this.
Okay.
Essentially, the card will just be represented as like a string, which is like everything that provided in this library. So
Hmm.
essentially, we give you something similar to the community card that's being broadcast to you in the game state. So it's just
Okay.
a strings that's
Hmm.
like this.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So
And also, yeah, sorry, was there something else or
oh no. Yeah, so you can whether you can do like your own custom thing to rebuild the card if you want to,
I
and you
see.
can just use this library to
Hmm.
get the card back to you. It also has some functionality to like
Okay.
basically evaluate hand, which is
Hmm.
like helpful.
Yeah.
Uh,
And then kind of one other thing I thought of. So will there kind of be a functionality to like allow us to kind of study what our opponents are doing in hands and kind of sort adapt our own strategy later on? Or
um, say right now there's no current strategies. That's
Sorry, what was the question? Can you repeat it?
so kind of I assume kind of we're playing at like multiple hands against the same opponents.
Yeah.
Will there be a way for us to kind of keep track of how they're playing and
Yeah.
then that allow us to adapt our own strategy in future hands? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
So it's basically right now everything is stored in the player history. Um,
okay.
Control.
uh,
Control.
control.
Control tab.
Control tab. So in this round state, essentially,
Hmm.
uh, this is basically um, the client state that have everything. So you can go into type and see what is being stored.
Hmm.
So there's like community card.
Hmm.
Then you have like player action, which is basically the player history. Um, so
Oh,
you can see what other people have done. The way it is doing is just a mapping
yeah.
from the round.
Or
Um,
I'm not talking about not just in the current hand, but in past hands. Let's say like we've already played like 100 hands, and if someone's like going all in 50% of the time or something, then you'd probably want to change your strategy against them, right? So,
so right now is not supported for that.
okay.
I think it would be feasible to implement that.
They can just store it themselves too, right?
But the container reset every time.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Right now, there's isn't a way to do that yet. Um, I would I would I would look into to see what we can do about it. Uh, yeah, but technically it should be possible. But you only I think the maximum scope that we will be able to provide you is just between like one game, essentially. So
Yeah.
a game have you have like 6 player against each other, and that will run for n number of games. So we can only be able to maybe provide you that like that information like in that range, for example. So
Okay.
if you are placed in the board A, you play against 6 people, and then the next phase the tournament you move from board A to board B to play against 6 other people, then
Hmm.
you would not have access to that board B information at all.
Or I'm not necessarily asking about that, but just when you're playing multiple hands against the same people, like obviously the first hand you don't know anything about them,
Yeah,
but let's say you've played like 100 hands and you notice like one player is only going in when he has aces.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
You'll be able to keep you'd want to probably change your strategy against them, right?
yes.
Um, so is that currently supported or
That's currently not supported.
hmm.
But I will look into what we can do about it.
Okay.
But if it's like supported, you probably have something like just a list of like this field of player actions that you can access somewhere. Uh,
Hmm.
they gives you the whole history of every game, something like that.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Wait, sorry, just to clarify, we won't have access to other people's like history during the match, like their betting history.
Um,
You'll have the betting history of that round itself, but you won't have the betting history of previous rounds. So
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense to everyone? Any other questions? Any questions? Oh, yeah.
Wait, also, will like everybody's hands be like available like every round?
After like
At the
After
end.
every round? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, at the end.
Wait, so like at the end of like
At the end of the
like
round,
at the end of every hand?
once you've seen all 5 cards and the people who are still standing, you get to see their cards.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
Normal poker rules. If they folded, you can't see their hands. Yeah, but you are forced to show at the end if you have been there till the end.
Okay, that makes sense. And then are blinds rotating?
Sorry?
Are blinds rotating?
Yes.
Okay.
Yet to be implemented. So because we have not implemented a lot of things and there are some bugs to fix out, we will be moving the deadline just a little bit forward. And we will send out an update to each and every single one of you who have signed up. So stay tuned for that. The things you see on the website, specifically for the dates, might not be as accurate as you see right now. We're just pushing to decide what the exact dates are going to be, but they are going to move. All right. Any other questions? Okay, if we don't have any more questions, we have recorded this and we will put this out on our wiki itself. There will be a YouTube link for this, for all of you to see. And if we need to have another information session after we have implemented a lot of things that we have talked about today, we will continue and have another one. Just let us know that, hey, we're still confused. Can we have this? Other than that, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys have a good day.
Thank you.
Yep.